Hey, hey. Welcome to Girl
Yeah.
Chat Sports. Mo and Mel here. We appreciate another West Coast Wednesdays here. Hump Day Wednesday. We've got a really great guest on today. Bear with us. It's our first time having three on at the same time. So we appreciate our guests joining us. We have an event this weekend to talk about here in Las Vegas. We want to make sure we get all of our details out and kind of talk to each of our guests and see what's going on. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Gary Charles, as well as Mr. Sonny Vaccaro, and of course, Miss Ndidi Massay. Did I have?
That's it.
There we go. Welcome. Hi. A lot of
Indeed.
people. A lot of people.
Yes. The room is full. The room is totally full.
It's a party, y'all. It's a
It
party.
is a
It's a
party.
party.
Yes, Gary.
And you
It
guys
is.
got a party coming up this weekend. So we want to talk about ABIS and kind of get and Gary, since you're the CEO and founder of ABS, give us a rundown kind of the events this weekend as well as the organization.
Well, thank you. First, the organization ABIS is the Advancement of Blacks in Sports. After the murder of George Floyd, uh, I put a statement out there on Twitter that went viral, and a lot of the coaches called me, and we decided to come together and make a difference. Okay, because if we're gonna keep complaining but not do anything about it, then we need to stop complaining. Okay, and so most of the basketball coaches, minority coaches in college are part of this organization, but not just the men, but the women. But it's not just basketball; it's also track and field, volleyball, football, baseball. So we're very proud of all of that. And as part of what we're doing, we feel that we should not have to wait for someone to tell us when to celebrate us. And hence the Champion and Legend fundraising gala, because it is a fundraiser to help with some of the things that we're doing. And we're very excited about it. It's our second year of doing this in Vegas. Okay. And this year is this weekend coming up, the second to the fourth, and we're really proud of the people that we're gonna be having on there, including Ndidi, who you see on your screen over here, but also will be Tracy McGrady will be part of it, famous track star Edwin Moses, Ryan Clark from ESPN Sport, and of course your very own Nikki Fargas, the president of the Las Vegas Aces. We're really proud of
Yes.
that. Nikki's
Oh,
another
yeah.
player. Chuck D, Chuck D from Public Enemy. And Chuck and I, by the way, we grew up together in Long Island. So it means a lot to me just to be able to see my guy Chuck receiving the John Carlos Thomas Smith Social Activist Award. And we have Tony Regan from Major League Baseball, and
Nice.
also Aja O'Neal. She just happened to be Jermaine O'Neal's former NBA star daughter, and she played volleyball, and she's going to be receiving the Student Athlete of the Year award. Okay, so that's our show in a nutshell, so to speak. Okay, but I don't want to take up all the time, so I want to make sure everyone else get a chance to speak.
We
We
appreciate that.
appreciate that. And then Sunny, if you want, I mean, I'm sure most of everybody out there knows who you are if they have been the basketball game long enough, if they've been a sneakerhead long enough, if they've went to the movies recently and saw Air. But what's your impact here with ABIS, and what are you doing with the organization?
Supporting a great cause and supporting a wonderful friend, Gary Charles, and all the people that I've run across in my 83 years on Earth. I remember when Gary first told me about this, and I'll make a statement. Gary's been listening last for 100 years. This organization, in time, will be just as successful and create just as much excitement, but do goodwill for what John Lewis did a long time ago. John had a mentor, and Gary's mentor was the whole group that he sort of grew up with to change the world. His his generation in the 90s, when I first met Gary, was the first generation, at least in basketball, that was taking place in not only America, in the world, that had eventually the players became the leaders. And that's why I'm here, for a good cause and because a great friend.
Very nice.
Very nice. And Miss Ndidi, please tell us what you're. I want to talk about the World Series of softball, but I'm going to talk first with you. I know, you're a Hall of Famer from Northwest University in softball, but give us a take as to your part in what's going on here with ABIS.
Well, I'm humbled to be honored by ABIS, and I'm getting the first ever Sonny Vaccaro Award. It means a ton to me. I mean, I met Sonny, actually we caught up earlier today, but I met Sonny close to 30 years ago when I was just coming on the scene and trying to get in the business. And I really remember meeting him. It was in the middle of, what he was doing to change lives for student athletes, really starting with high school. I met him like sort of on the high school scene. And then, just trying to represent, honestly, women, Black women in sports. And I'm happy in my role, and that, Gary and ABIS have really sort of recognized it. I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at CBS Sports, and I'm able to really roll up my sleeves and get some work done and kind of help change the narrative, on air, of how we tell stories, what stories we tell, who's telling the stories. And, we tend to look at, like you ladies, on the screen, but also really we're taking a look behind the screen at the producers, the directors, camera operators, audio technicians, like the whole deal, and really try to help open up this world a little bit more for people of color and women.
And that's amazing. We love that. We love that. Gary, I wanted to ask, in regards to your honorees, I know this is your second annual. You had some honorees last year, but what goes into choosing? Are you the prime person that's making the choices for the honorees, or is there a group of you all? And what goes into that? And what do you look for in these honorees?
Committee, we do have a committee who make the choices, and as we bring the names in, then we take it to the board, and then the board votes on, okay, if this makes sense. And the way this works is that, as Ndidi mentioned, there's the Sonny Vaccaro Champion of Change Award. I'm a firm believer in that. Not only should we honor us, but we need to also honor the allies who have been there for us, that helped us to get to this point. Even Martin Luther King, when you look to his left, there was an ally, in his left shoulder. But Sonny's been there. He's been an ally for us since I can remember. And as you mentioned, I've known him for since the early 1990s. Okay. And so when you think of Ndidi helped us a couple years ago create the HBCU All-Star game during the Final Four. The HBCU school never get the opportunity to play in the Final Four. Okay, it just doesn't happen. But there was a gentleman who had an idea, Travis Williams, about doing that, and Ndidi was so instrumental in putting that together. Hence the reason that she's receiving the Sonny Vaccaro Champion of Change Award.
And that's great, because coming from an HBCU background, I attended an HBCU, and we didn't get that shine. And this was in the early 90s. The only shine going to Southern University was that of Bayou Classic. And it still didn't raise the awareness that you would think to push more people to go down to HBCUs until now you see prime time. But for you, Gary, just to have that idea and concept, were there any other HBCU partners or schools or anything that participated that you reached out to, or they were just really easily ready and able to do that Final Four type of situation that you set up?
First of all, I don't want to take the credit away from Travis Williams. Travis Williams was the one that came with the idea. He actually was a coach at Tennessee State. And by the way, before I forget, I'm a Cheney University alumni. Okay, so I'm an HBCU member also. Okay, but it was Travis' idea. But what he did was he came to me to tell me what his idea was, if I could help him out, and that's how we got Ndidi involved, because right before Ndidi got her job at CBS, Ndidi was leading our strategic area for ABIS, and then whoop, she got swept away. And of course, when it happened, like, Ndidi, come on back, we need your help now, okay? And Ndidi was like, oh my God, I just got the job. I said, yeah, you can do it, girl, and she did. She did it real proudly. But as someone who come from the HBCU, and as someone who has always been aware of my surrounding, as far as our Blackness, this was extremely important to me, but it can't be done without the group of us, and that's what's so important about it. That it's a collaboration of all of us.
And that's what it takes. That honestly is what it takes. And I just am praising all of you guys for even being all one in that kind of collaborative effort and making this a second year event. Sonny, I wanted to ask, as well as Ndidi and Gary, just all of that. We're rolling into June. It is the month of Juneteenth. We're celebrating that as well. What else is on the plate for you guys to also highlight that in addition to ABIS?
Well, I guess I'll answer that question. Let's go. So we do a lot. One of the things that we created was a financial coaching program. You don't know what you don't know. And we felt that we needed to teach our collegiate athletes all about financial coaching. What is credit? What is budget and saving? Okay. How do we get to Equifax? Oh, is that why my score is so important? So we're having that, and we teach that at 6 HBCU and 6 PWI school from a grant from JP Morgan. So shout out to JP Morgan for
Oh, nice.
what we need to do. So that's on continuous basis that we keep doing that. We are also putting a program together for mental wellness, okay? Because mental wellness is real, and we need to understand that and continue to support our collegiate athletes. As my girl Nikki Fargus said to me one day, it's not just the athletes who need it; the coaches need it too, Gary. Okay, so
Absolutely.
extremely proud of some of those things that we're doing right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even just within our ethnic group alone, I think mental illness is just something that we just need to really highlight and check in on, just even for the athletes, but even just if they're people of color or just Black athletes alone, just that mental check-in is key. So as far as the events that you have, I know there's a big gala on Saturday. What else are we highlighting for this weekend that we can look forward to?
All kinds of things. So we start off on Friday, in which someone from the city of Las Vegas is going to welcome us. But actually, we start off in the morning at 9 a.m. We're going to be doing a food distribution in North Las Vegas. We're also going to plant a tree out there, okay, from ABIS. And then at 2 o'clock, we start with Nikki Fargus. He's going to be the keynote speaker on Friday. And then Friday evening, we're going to do an all-white party. Girls, you better come. You better come correct. You better come correct. Okay, it's
Yeah.
all white party. Okay, so we're gonna have DJ. We're gonna have the music, but really, it's a greeting, right? A meet and greet on Friday. So that's what we're doing. Then Saturday, we're gonna go back to the workshop. We're gonna have some different panels. That's gonna include social justice panel. Actually, I think Spencer Hayward is gonna be on one of the panels. Spencer is out there in Vegas. We're having a ultimate champion panel on Friday. We're doing a financial coaching also on Friday. JP Morgan is going to sponsor that, and CBS Sports is sponsoring a panel on Saturday, which is the business of college sports. Okay, and we're going to have some prominent people, on that, and then Saturday evening it's going to be the gala, itself. But not only are we going to be honoring people, we're also going to be celebrating afterward because we're bringing a cover band who is going to be singing Earth, Wind, and Fire song. Because you know
Oh,
what?
wow.
Not the elements coming into play.
I need to know my reason. The reason why I need my reason. Okay, so Earth, Wind, and Fire are going to be performing on Friday night, and
Very
then
nice.
Saturday we're going to finish it with a brunch, a gospel brunch with your very own Brett Jones, who's going to be DJing on Sunday, excuse me. So it'll be an exciting weekend.
It's a packed few days, so
It
that's
is.
amazing. That's great. Hey, Sonny, while you're here, I wanted to ask a little bit about just the basketball side. I mean, you've been in the basketball game for so long, and you worked with these top brands or making them top brands in the sneaker game. And what exactly was it for you that had you change from that being with the corporations and working with the sneakers to mainly just focusing on trying to work with the younger youth and these up and coming kids and trying to give back?
I don't know. We put the shoe business too quick into Sonny Vaccaro's life. It was a long journey before I got to Nike, and it was by accident. Most of the things in my life were by accident. But the first thing, other than navigating through getting a college degree and going on with my life and going back to my high school to teach special education, was called, I started the high school all-star game in 1964. I was 24 or 25 when I did that. To get to your question and try to keep it brief, somehow, some way, because of all the sports that you could have played, where I was able to play in the 1950s and 60s, and especially when I was in high school, basketball was the last sport I would have been in. I was pretty decent in baseball and football and whatever else. I come from a small community. But when I and my partner, Pat DeCesar, thought of a All-Star game, I thought of basketball. And the reason I did, because I'm from Pittsburgh, and in Pittsburgh, in the 50s and 60s and still yet, Pennsylvania was more noted for football or even baseball in the spring. When we come up with the All-Star game, I want to get to my point. When I said, let's do a national game with Pennsylvania against them, I only did it because I liked high school basketball. I used to go to the tournaments there when kids were high school, and I saw the great fan interest. And what was negative or absent was the publicity and the athleticism of the basketball player. And something went in my mind one day, and that, there's something missing here. These kids are brilliant. And I was talking about Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Hill District. All the things that we talk about today, like when Gary started in New York City and Detroit and all these other cities, basketball was the orphan child of sports, especially on the youth level. And me and my partner did a game that created the first one. 13 years before there was a McDonald's game, there was the Dapper Dan. We had 17,000 people in the stands,
Wow.
10,000 sold out the first hit. And what I want to say to you in this audience that I'm speaking to, the reason I'm here and the reason, someone mentioned the movie and all the things that I may or may not have done with the help of people like Gary Charles and other people was one thing. The only reason I'm here, because about 60 years ago, the parents and guardians and coaches of kids trusted me with their children to come and play a basketball game in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, put them on an airplane, no wire service, no cell phones, no texts, phone call, that's they call back, or you wrote a letter. And on my tombstone, the thing I'm going to talk about are the parents and children that they trust me with their children. So to say this, what grew in from that game is 20 years later, I guess 30 years later, 64 to 94, when I met Gary, people like Gary came into my life. And by the 90s, basketball was starting to grow. Now I'm going to get one more minute of this. But if you want to be honest, and your audience should really know this because you're talking about HBCUs, right? Well, first of all, the greatest basketball players in the world never got to play in Madison Square Garden, but never played for a national championship. They were the silent majority of greatness. They went to the black schools. They went to the John Cheneys and the things. And then also, when they did get to the pros, there was a quota on you. You can only have two guys. When they went to the colleges, my God, until Texas Western come in, they were ready to, I don't want to say stupid words in today's society, but it was tough. But basketball, the greatest sport in the world now, because it'll pass football eventually, because the NBA is on the height that no one's going to stop. There's going to be an international championship. Basketball is the one that laid the groundwork. And the basketball athlete, no matter how you want to describe it, is the greatest athlete in the world. They never stop running. Just think about it. Other than individual sports, basketball guy goes for 48 minutes. They just keep going back and forth all damn day. They work the hardest to get the furthest. Let me say this, you don't know. When I first met Gary Charles, he was making a good living, raising a family, very young, in Wall Street. And he had an AAU team, Long Island Panthers. He comes walking into my room, and family and I were together, just gotten married, and walking in, didn't know. And he said, "What you up to?" I had just gotten fired by Nike. So I'm starting something else. I don't know how I'm going to do it. We're going to go against the sons of guns. And when Nike fired me, they forgot about the most important element, the high school player. People like Barry and a kid named Mickey Walker walked in my room, and we started to build. And together we built a dynasty, because no one can do what we did with camps and all-star games in the 90s, to where Gary is still doing the things Gary and I got out of it a while ago. But that's what I remember. That's how I got to being on your show tonight. And thank you. Through someone else's children,
Wow.
mostly minority.
Wow.
And you've touched, I mean, you've literally been involved with so many of these youth that have growing up. I mean, even, you know, we know all the large names, but I'm sure there's millions of smaller names out there too. And I'm sure that at some point in time you come across any of these kids or now adults. Has there been anyone in particular that you've come across that's had some inspiring words for you on the change maybe that you've made for them?
You know what? I don't count. There's no count from either part, but I can tell you this: there are some kids that, and I'll just say one because he's a guest on Gary, this festivity this week. Tracy McGrady, of all the thousands of kids, because the most unique of all circumstances, he even got to ABCD camp. His high school coach, he didn't play high school basketball, wouldn't allow him to come, would try to talk me out of it. He was recommended by a summer guy to go to my camp. They abandoned me and they told me not to take him. My wife, Pam, says to me, I'll never forget this. We were living in Calabasas at the time. She said, you never turn down a kid because somebody thinks ill of him. We invited Trey. I just told him this today, Gary. I invited Tracy to camp, and this tough guy who comes from this tough background in Florida, first thing he does is get in a fight with a New York kid on the bus first afternoon. And I go back and stop it. And then from then on, it's not that we've seen each other a lot. We had so much in common in one thing. He had a spirit inside of him that drove him, because he really, but for the grace of God and a break, somebody said even his name, no one knows what happened. And he's going to be honored tomorrow or Saturday at Gary's, and his wife and 4 children, Hall of Fame. Now, there are other kids that have did this, and I'm just as close. But his was more personal. He's the only one I can remember, Gary, that if we wouldn't have invited him, no one would have missed him. We never know from there on in. We don't know what happens other than him.
Facts.
That's amazing. Those are great, great inspirational moments. And we'll look forward to many more, I'm sure, as the journey continues for everyone. Ndidi, for you, coming in as the Vice President at CBS Sports and implementation for their diversity and inclusion programs, since you've been there, I think it's been a couple years now or a few, what have you noticed as far as the changes that have already been made due to your presence and to the efforts that you're making there?
There's been a lot of change. I mean, I don't want to brag. It's always teamwork. It is. I mean,
well, you and your team, you know,
yes.
Everybody.
And I'm definitely the team captain. That's for sure. Just like I was when I was an athlete. But listen, I give a lot of credit to the folks who, after George Floyd was murdered, like demanded my job and demanded that there was somebody in this role to fight for them behind closed doors and in front and in the open as well. So it's great I get to look at D&I from all parts of the business 24/7. So I report directly into the chairman of CBS Sports, which also shows you the importance of this role and that I'm at the table and on every single decision that we make, that there's a person in there fighting for people of color, fighting for women, fighting for those in the LGBTQ plus community, as well as those with disabilities. So, you know, to me, I was fighting that fight anyway, and now I get paid to do it. Like, yes. it's a blessing. And I would say that, you know, people have trusted me. People have given me resources. People have let me run. And again, I'm going to go back to this award that I'm getting, you know, much like Sonny, like I think out of the box and I go against the grain, and, you know, what's been happening has not been working. So I'm sort of like, let's do something different. Let's think differently. So the training and education and the sessions that I do were very different from normal corporate America. And I think they've been effective. I mean, we've definitely seen change in a shift in culture. And we've seen a shift in diversity numbers, opportunities for folks. We've started some programs for, you know, entry-level folks to be runners and like production assistants and a bunch of different roles to expose people to the business. I'm working closely with the unions on that, as well as, you know, looking at all the different roles. Because, you know, some of the people, I want to be on air. And then when you expose them to all these other opportunities, there's engineers, there's lawyers, there's comms, there's marketing, there's, again, and I look at the technology and I'm blown away with audio and, camera operators, et cetera, and what it takes to put on a live, sports broadcast. So those are some of the things that I'm working on.
Amazing.
Did you ever think you would be in this position? I know as kids, we grow up and we don't know what we essentially feel like we will dream to do. And for all three of you guys, did you guys ever think it would reach to this level of new heights? And then my follow-up is that what is the end goal, or what is the ultimate goal that you guys would like to achieve with all of this?
I guess I'll start. First, I want to say to Ndidi, but I have a saying that you're not bragging when you're giving out facts. Okay,
Right.
You go ahead and keep giving up the facts. As far as my goal, I always had goal. Because I've always felt, and I've heard this from someone before, which is that if your dream doesn't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough. So I've always had it in my head that I was going somewhere, working on Wall Street and being one of the few blacks there didn't faze me because I knew I belonged. I belonged there. But I've always been aware that I had to be on point because I was opening up doors. And it's a shame that we still have to be like that. We still have
Of
to
course, yeah.
to continue to keep opening up doors. So I've never, ever forgotten that. I think that, when it comes to ABIS, that at the end of the day, we want to be that voice for racial equity in sports. And that, showing my age, that when ABIS speak, people will listen. That's the whole idea of, ABIS, and that's the way I think.
Awesome. Think that'll happen. I think we on our way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll jump in here too a little bit and say, I never envisioned being in my role because there weren't these roles, right? There weren't diversity, equity, and inclusion officers, but I did envision being at the table, like always. And when sometimes people talk about imposter syndrome, especially with women, I don't have that because I tell you what, I belong at the table. I should be at the table. I think I should be running the table. and quite honestly, like that's the kind of athlete I was too, because I'll go back to sports. Without sports, I would have never had the opportunity to go to college. I realized very early on that I was more talented than most of the people around me. I grew up playing with boys. So I grew up playing very physical and very tough. And when I went up against the girls, I thought immediately, like, these girls are really soft. I'm gonna go straight at them. Like, I'm just going to take it to them. And so just that sort of confidence, I think, that I had from early on is just that I belong here. I belong with the boys, and I can talk sports with anybody. Kind of like you, Mel and Mo. I mean, you have this talk show, right? You're talking sports. You're talking all sports, not just women's sports.
Right.
And that women can do that. And knowledge is knowledge, and confidence is confidence, and being an athlete is being an athlete. Some get paid a lot more than others, but we put in the work, and we belong here, and we can do this like anyone else. So I knew somehow, some way, I'd be at the table running things. I didn't necessarily know in this role, but my undergrad degree was journalism, and I'm a lawyer also by trade. So this kind of all fits in nicely. But I am kind of like Gary was saying, being the only person in the room, I'm certainly the only woman of color in the room. There are definitely more people of color and definitely more women, but women of color are like this, right, in our industry. So, but I'm owning it. Listen, I like it. I like that it makes me different. I like that it sets me apart, and I'm going after it. So.
And be fierce with it. Yes. And
what's happening as far as bringing other minority women into that space as well? How has that been has that been a challenge? If you've seen recommendations of other people to be in the room as well? Or are they kind of just saying, well, you're it for now, and this is all we're going to have? What is that looking like as far as future, I guess, if you will?
Listen, it's a challenge. It will continue to be a challenge, not just for us, for everybody, for the industry. Right. I think it's a slow change, but it's happening. I see it happening. I see it with us, like really picking out some superstars and grooming them, right? At the like director, senior director level, and grooming them if we're looking on the executive side to be VPs. And then if I look on the production side, looking at assistant directors, assistant producers, right? ADs, APs, and grooming them and I think it's about someone recognizing you, someone pulling you up, and then giving you the tools, teaching you, right? Because the worst thing we want to do is put people in positions too early. And when they fail, it's like, I told you so. You know,
Right.
like, that hurts everybody. So I think we've got to teach people and give them resources and give them skills to get there. And then once they're there, we got to support them. And quite frankly, if we're not intentional about doing it, it won't happen. I think there are a lot of intentional people. It's not just us, it's allies. It's allies like Sonny. You know, it's a lot of people who want to see this change, but we got to be intentional, and we need resources to be intentional, and we just got to keep at it. But I think it's almost like all of our duties to do this, and to pay it forward. And again, I just think that I'm blessed that I get paid to do that, because a lot of us do it anyway, and it's not our job, but we need to make progress.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
Sonny, I mean, we know you've been around the game for a long time. Is there anything that you're hoping for in the next?
What's your ultimate?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to see, Sonny? What's the dream?
I want to wake up tomorrow morning.
Okay, there you go.
Amen.
There you go.
That's what I want. You know, I listened to Ndidi and Gary, and I was like them. I graduated this little school in Pennsylvania. We had 53 students in my graduating class. I was third from the bottom of my class. Okay? These two, you listen to them, and they're articulate and brilliant as probably when they left their mother's womb. So they were geared for this life. When Gary said, you know, the Wall Street thing, I remember in the early days, that was almost unheard of in the AAU trail that I was into. But going back to me, what I had along the way was support from someone I didn't know other than my parents, as I went every step of my way, from getting into a college somehow to going, everything happened. I didn't know it would happen. The only job I ever applied for in my life was when I got a diploma from Youngstown State. I wanted to go back and be the head coach of my high school football team. It was really what my goal was at that time, or play the Pirates in a minor league baseball team. But I got a break. The Nike thing, the All-Star game, they happened by happenstance. And, you know, starting the ABCD camp, going other. But as I get now at the end and telling you, you know, anything that's happened and the things that I have been involved with basically come from the strength of other people. And I can say the young Brandon Jennings questioning the worst organization in the history of mankind is the NCAA. They own you. Everyone's been a slave to them. No one wants to say that since 100 years ago, because they made the rules. They called you an amateur forever. They didn't use other names. But so once Brandon led to Eddie O'Bannon. Eddie O'Bannon led to a court case. The court case led to the Supreme Court. They're going to lose, but they're only going to lose because the kids start fighting back. They started questioning, why can't I earn a living? Why can't I go to the pros if I'm good enough? You can do it when you're a tennis player or a golfer, mostly white sports, singular sports, went anywhere. But these kids, and ending with O'Bannon, changed the world because they won. They beat him in court. But I'll tell you what I like right now. 2000, what year are we in, 23? That these kids that Gary and I watched grow up, from the LeBrons to the Chris's, to all the kids who went through all these programs years ago, and really were some of those kids that were helped go to a camp or go to this or go to that when they were young. Because there weren't a lot of situations. I remember a camp called Garfinkel's Camp in New York City. They invited the good players, and they didn't have to pay. They waited on tables, just so we understand this. And 500 other kids, mothers and dad, paid $400 for them to go to play against these kids. But today you see what LeBron's done, what Chris Paul's done, what Jermaine O'Neal's done, what Kevin's done. I mean, it's unbelievable. What do you see now because of this movie? Everybody wants to be Michael Jordan's mother, Dolores. Or the world. Now that movie, it was a movie, not a documentary, but I know something. I knew the Jordans until this very moment. Okay, Mrs. Jordan. I was that close to Michael and nothing. That lady was the alpha person. Michael's done everything that he can in the world, but I don't know what happens if Mrs. Jordan's not his mother in 1984. I don't know. I was in there like I said, there are some things that, you imagine whatever. I know one thing, Viola and Matt did great speeches for me and Mrs. Jordan. I know that. I know that we both said things similar to that leading up to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying to you, parents are now involved. Parents are condemned. And I'll tell you, one of the mothers that always, and thousands, hundreds of others. I say this because I watched them grow up. LeBron James's mother. I mean, hardest of all, that's only known because everybody knows the story of Willa LeBron. They call generational wealth. Forget the wealth. It's the power of the individual. Athletes are now powerful. And if the athletes bond together with things through, as Gary's trying to do and other people are trying to do, they can change this world. Too often, the athletes were subjected to not saying anything or afraid to be involved or didn't want, as Michael said one day, Democrats and Republicans buy shoes. Michael said that. Now, that was 100 years ago in a different world, But you know what? Athletes change the world now. Everything is good. Kids are buying teams. Magic just got involved. I remember Magic from East Lansing. I'm saying it's changed. And you, young lady, and you two guys, and Jerry Charles, and all the ones that follow you, the ball's in your court. You got time. Me, I got memories. I got what he gives me, God, to go on. And I know we helped start a hell of a foundation. And I think these kids are going to help change that. I mean, the athletes. I think the athletes they're not dribbling the ball or punting the ball anymore, ladies and gentlemen. They're part of the business world. That's I'm done.
Sonny Vaccaro, ladies and gentlemen. If
Yes.
in the Girl Chat Sports, this is a very historic night because we've never had such an audience and guests of your guys' caliber. I think this is the first for us being in our podcast. I think we're into our 4th year, and we are just really humbled and honored to have this wisdom all in this space. And it's just so inspiring. And to hear all three of you collaborate and have a mission that comes all into one, it's just an amazing thing. And so I just have to have, if I had a hat, tip my hat off to all of you for your contributions and future contributions and what you've done, because it's been truly amazing to have you guys on our show tonight.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so before we let you go, since it is still a charity event for the gala, are there tickets still available, and where can people purchase tickets, Gary?
please go on Eventbrite. If you go to Eventbrite and do a search for the ABIS Champion Legend Gala, you'll be able to purchase tickets. You'll be able to come to every single thing you see here on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And let's just not forget, it is a fundraiser. It's for the kids. It really is. So at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. I just have to tell you, I'm inspired. I'll tell you why I'm inspired, because I remember when Sonny and I started. I remember Sonny giving me opportunity, and what it's leading to is watching you, Mel, and watching you, Mo, two women on a show like this, okay? That didn't happen back then. So I'm also inspired to be able to see this, because I have 3 daughters, and I'm proud of, what I'm seeing right now.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. We're just into it, just like you guys are. We have a passion for sports. I have a passion for advocacy. I have a passion for civil rights. I have a passion for everything that needs to be right with the world. And so all of what you guys have encompassed and what you're doing in your due diligence just manifests that. So it's really, like I said, it's just cast off from what you guys are doing. We're just trying to, like you said, do our part as best as we can and just keep the word going and not let the foot off the gas. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And so I know we've kept you on way too long, but for one last question, because I know Sonny was, if not still is, a gambling man. So I'm going to give you 3 championships that are coming up, and you can pick one or all. I just want the winner. So for the NBA Finals, Nuggets or Heat. For the NHL Championship, the Golden Knights or the Panthers. Or for the Women's World Series, there's 8 of them. I know Oklahoma State. I know my team, Washington. I know there's Utah and a few others, Georgia maybe too. But let us know if you can pick one or pick all 3. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a gambler, so I'm going to stay away from hockey and the girls thing, okay? I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets. I know some of the kids in the family. And I think what Miami did was one of the greatest pure performances I've seen in a long time. To go kick the butt of all those teams in front of him, especially the Celtics at home to win it. I thought he did a great job, and so but I would pick them. The other two, you never go into a game not knowing what the hell you're doing. Well, I don't know anything about the other two. I'm not betting on those.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in on
And that's
softball
okay.
then. I'll jump
Okay.
on softball since that's my sport. So
Yeah, indeed.
unfortunately, my team Northwestern lost in the last game to Alabama. Heartbroken because that was my team. But I'm gonna go with Oklahoma. Oklahoma is so strong, and now that UCLA kind of choked
Yeah.
in the first regional, they were ranked 1. So I got to go with Oklahoma. I think that
You're
strong.
going for the three-peat.
Yeah.
The three-peat, huh?
Yeah.
Washington is strong too. I think Washington is going to be up there. I think it's.
Okay.
I'm going to guess it's the championship's going to be Washington. Well, I haven't seen the bracket, so if it works out that they're in the opposite brackets, it will be. I think Washington and Oklahoma.
I think you're going for Oklahoma all the way. That's the favor, though, is Oklahoma.
It is the favorite.
All right.
Yeah, they're so strong.
Gary, what you got?
You know, I'm chuckling here because I'm thinking about Ndidi from 30-something years ago when I met her little freckle-faced young lady. I'm like, who's this freckle-faced young lady over here? And here it is, 30-something years later, we're still here together. Vegas, baby. Vegas.
Don't pick those
Yes.
nuts. I love
Yes.
it. I love it. I love it.
We need more championships in the city. You know, the
do.
ladies brought it for the first one, and now we need a second.
There
Yeah,
you
we
go.
do. And then the Raiders will be on watch because they need to. And I'm a Raider fan, so we need to have the Raider get some awareness and watch so we can be the third. But yes, thank you.
And then I just got to throw out the Super Bowl this year on CBS in Las Vegas.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes, big
fantastic.
time.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
going to be major out here.
Yes.
Right.
So Mel and Mo, we should try to organize something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We
There you
definitely
go.
will have to.
We're all a
Yeah.
family now. And ladies, by the way, you're invited to the gala as our special
Thank
guest.
you.
And Ndidi
Thank
already told me before the show she would pay for your ticket now, but don't worry, you'll come on down. I got some tickets for you, okay? So please reach out.
Aw, thank you so much.
Thank
We
you so much,
appreciate
Gary. I
that.
appreciate that. Really do.
Yes. Well, that's it. We don't want to, we know we got plenty of time. You guys still need to get out here. There's traveling happening. I know flights are already delayed. I saw, I can't remember who was on the Twitter talking about their flight was delayed for the first game tomorrow.
Don't tell me
yeah.
that.
So be careful. God's
Safe
grace with you while you're
travels.
flying. And we certainly appreciate you joining us. And we'll see you this weekend at some point.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
All
thank
right.
you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
And Sonny,
you.
take care of yourself, okay?
All right.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
Girl Chat
Just the-
Sports, y'all. We was in the building with
Yes.
some legendary acts. Thanks for everybody that was joining the chat. If you guys had any questions, we would love to have had you guys position those as well. They were just awesome gems being dropped. There wasn't anything too advisory because every statement was an advice statement. Everything was an inspiration. So
all little
kudos.
nuggets. All nuggets.
little nuggets and gems. So I was all for it, and just to be engrossed in that space, it's an honor. So
Yeah.
thank you, Mel, for getting that set up. Thanks for our guests again. I mean, it just was an amazing. And you guys look up ABIS if you can't attend the gala.
Advancement in black. I'm sorry, in black sports. Sorry, I want to cut you off.
Advancement Black in sports. Yeah, Black in sports. But I think if you wanted to donate or do anything like that, you don't necessarily have to be here. Check out their website. That's something that they have links to donate. Anything you can do to even have them come to the city that you're in, host some kind of anything. Like
Well, and they do have events. If you follow them on Instagram, it's We Are ABIS. They have events throughout the year, and a lot of them, which I think is really valuable now, is because with the NIL deals that we have right now.
Right.
I mean, and all these young kids getting money at an early age, having that financial literacy, being able to know how to work, entrepreneurship, how to put that money to good use, how to invest it, how to do things with it at an early age is great. So they do that among other. They have I think they had a couple things on there for women in sports. And
I think I did see that. I saw that too on their IG.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow them and tap in for sure on that.
Definitely. Just It's just
Sonny Vaccaro alone.
we
but
could have had that
Ndidi-
conversation for hours. You know what I
First
mean?
of all, I mean, you got Sonny Vaccaro, but then you've got Gary Charles, and then you've got Ndidi. Like, Ndidi is a beast. I had no idea the level she was at with CBS Sports, and that's just something that's just.
And previously, I've worked for ABC and ESPN.
Yeah,
I
like, come
mean,
on, the background is just stellar.
it's just
Yeah.
crazy. It's so
It
crazy.
is.
So thanks for those that have tapped in. Shout out to Steph, I see was in here, and she said, awesome to have them on the show tonight. Yes.
Oh.
And Miss
Shout out to Natasha
Bolland.
Bransberry, who I'm also always inspired to, and I
Yes.
feel like she definitely has a place in the room.
Look, I feel like Natasha and Ndidi could have been like, you know, between the
totally
sports. Yes, the sports, the attorneys,
that
like
needs to be a
everything.
collab to happen. I really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see them being
Absolutely.
juggernauts. Absolutely.
Man. So we'll just cut to some hot topics, which of course is just the finals that are happening. We've got the Stanley Cup finals happening. We've got the NBA finals happening. We saw Miami be down or be up 3-0, and the Celtics come back to tie it up 3-3, which they pushed to game 7. Game 7 was the highest game 7 Eastern Conference finals in all of NBA history.
I believe it.
And it was a little lackluster. I think if game 6 would have been game 7, it might have been a little better, but that game 7, definitely the Miami Heat took it, and will be facing the Denver Nuggets tomorrow at 5:30.
Well, I already told you the Heat should have been there. I mean, they're coming from the 8th seed, but last season they should have been there. Could have taken out Boston last season, so.
And they'll be the first team, if they do win the championship, they will be the first team out as an 8th seed to win the championship. And this would also be the first championship for the Denver Nuggets as a franchise. So
absolutely.
It's just nice to see it. Well, I mean, Miami's not a fresh face, but, you know, we've seen the same few the last few years. So
who are you pulling for on this? Who are you pulling? Who are you rolling with?
Honestly, I love Jimmy, but I also really wouldn't mind seeing Denver get a championship, because the rest of their teams have screwed them. I mean, hello, we'll talk about the Broncos, the Avalanche. Like, let's give the city some hope. But I mean, Jokic and Murray, it depends on how these guys and their duo and their tag team duo ship is happening this week. And then is playoff Jimmy going to be there?
Jimmy gonna be there. But you've got two teams that are gunning for championships in the state of Florida, which is very interesting. That one or the other they want to rally around. But even though the Nuggets took my Lakers out, I'm still rolling with the Nuggets. I'm strictly on the West. I always stay West.
I hear you.
I'm gonna go with the.
You know, Nuggets. I still have a love for Jimmy because he was in the Chicago for a while, and so that's
absolutely
I
like it. But I like Aaron Gordon. I like.
Well, plus the coach there in Miami is just. I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, you're going to the final 7 times in the last.
I mean, it's Pat Riley's muse. Okay, let's just not forget who's behind that.
But you still running it for how many years?
Oh yeah, I mean, Spoelstra's that guy. I mean, it's just going to come down to out coaching and out playing. It's a veteran squad. Tyler Hero's back. Like it's all running together. But I just want to see Denver kind of get their just desserts. I really do.
Of course. I'm rooting for Denver in this one.
I need Denver to have a beacon of hope, because they Broncos that darn sure ain't gonna do nothing this year, like you said. And who knows what the Rockies are looking like in baseball right now. Who knows what Colorado U's going to be doing with Dion and Prime? You just don't know. So they
trying to go back to the Big 12. That's what they trying to do.
Yeah, they just need to do something. They got to get it together. So I feel
man. Then we got the so one thing about so I don't know I know you sent me the Himmy Buckets made as trademark. So Jimmy Buckets got a trademark for Himmy, HIMMY, to trademark because he wants to do a beverage and clothing line.
Right.
Apparently the combination is due to Jimmy Buckets and the phrase he's him. So that's the Himmy came from, I guess. Yeah. I had no clue. I was under, then we got the Stanley Cup finals. So again, there was a wonderful viewing party at Circa Stadium Swim. Like, my 2 favorite things come together: pools and sports, and it's like the best intersection of all things. So Vegas Golden Knights, unfortunately, we're up 3-0, couldn't finish it out in game 4 in Dallas, couldn't finish it out on game 5 here in Las Vegas, had to go back to Dallas for game 6 and won 6-0. Knocked it out the park.
Thank God, too, because I was talking mess, man. I didn't need these Knights to be acting like this. It was crazy.
No, you wasn't. Stop.
Yes, I was. You weren't hearing me. I was talking mess at
Okay.
work and everything.
So game 1's going to be Saturday at T-Mobile Arena, 5:00. Game 2 is going to be on Monday here at 5:00, and then it goes to Miami. Here's what's crazy. They've got NHL and NBA finals will be in Miami at the same time. Florida's going to be busy.
Pick your
place.
poison. Pick your poison, what you want to see.
Yeah. Big shout out though to Aiden Hill. They're on the right. I mean, I think he had 24 or 23 saves in game on Monday. The fellas are looking good. Listen, but the Panthers have been this Cinderella team that have come into the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. They swept Hurricanes. They beat out the big brothers and the number 1 seeds in the first 2 rounds, and now they're here to face Las Vegas. So we can definitely not count them out whatsoever.
No,
absolutely no. For those that want some pucks, I know you sent it to the VGK ladies. If you go up to their Instagram or get into their link, they are selling the finals Stanley Cup final puck with the Florida Panthers, as well as the championship conference puck. So if you are a puck collector, get out there, support the VGK ladies too.
Yeah
I
like those pucks. Those are pretty nice.
They are nice. They really are. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So Vegas has some news. We all know about Jimmy G having to have surgery on his foot. And, you know, of course, it comes down to now, again, we're back to Tom Brady. His minority ownership in the Raiders has not been approved yet, but no one sees anything happening as far as it being not happening. The thing is that they are working to try and pass for him to become a player and owner to where he could come back.
And fill in for Jimmy because our season is done.
I mean, listen, this is what, you know, the Raiders fans had wanted when the news broke that he could have came here. And now if the rule passes, it's not to say we know he said he's done retired, but this could be it. Who knows?
It's an emergency, though. We're in an SOS situation. We really don't have a backup to say to Jimmy, and with him having surgery, what does that look like for our season? We're probably going to need him. So
and getting surgery on your foot, that's like, that seems like something.
He's gone. I'm really like, honestly, like, this is why he didn't pass physical the first time. They knew something was up and didn't want to say anything. See, now we're knowing. But now we're in a desperate situation. We're in a crisis mode. It's an SOS.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tom, come on back.
I feel like Mark Davis had like this, you know,
Derek Carr's just laughing at us, man. I swear.
Derek Carr's living it, eating a beignet, laughing at y'all.
Yeah, with John Gruden, because you know they added John Gruden to help as a consultant into the team.
Really?
Carr, he's down there with him too. So they both
I did not know.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Not a part of the team officially, but he's actually working with Derek Carr as
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll look forward to seeing what happens. A 3/4 majority vote would have to pass for that to happen. So we'll see how it goes. It's still in the works.
Tom. We ain't got no choice. We need you.
We got to shout out our aces. The ring ceremony went down on Saturday. The girls are iced out. Let's just take a look at the rings up close. So these are from Jason of Beverly Hills. It was a female design process with the help of Mark Davis, of course. You've got 541 diamonds. There's 11 flawless carats in this thing. Of course, you got the names and the number, as well as the championship ring on the side. I mean, this ring is not only the most expensive they've had in the WNBA, but I believe it's the largest too. So it's just amazing. One thing I did want to highlight a little bit though was, you know, this was the day that Becky Hammon came back from her little 2-day suspension, right? And we know that suspension was handed down by commissioner. And so here's a video of Becky getting her ring. And just watch for the interaction when she leaves Mark and goes to the commissioner. So quite entertaining. Did you feel the temperature change? Because this was the look immediately after she walked past Kathy. She was like, boop. So always entertaining. We also had the banner dropping. The banner unveil was, I think you're muted.
Yeah, because I'm starving. Yeah, it looks good.
I love it. Miss Bondi said, she said Becky just hugged her so she didn't get fined.
Right.
I believe that.
That part. I believe
that side eye was so fierce.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
was like immediately when she left, like just to let go of the hug from Kathy, it was like, oh.
Well, you got to do it. You know, I'm showing up.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I get it. I just,
it's women and the petty. I
feel like for Becky, like I understand, like my face doesn't hide emotion. So my face is going to tell the story no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that was good. The Aces they're 4-0 right now in the start. All our Commissioner Cup games they've won, they seem to be really knocking it out of the park. I believe our test is going to be, we're going to be on the road for 4 games.
Right.
Or 3 games. Yeah.
4 games. We're not back till like late June.
We're not back till June 11th, but they've got 2 back-to-back games in Connecticut versus the Sun, who are currently number 1 in the East. So I think that's going to be our challenge right now. That could be. I mean, I don't see
no challenges with us. We so loaded and ready and locked in.
It's loaded. And the bench is deep and the bench has been playing early on and we're getting rest.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all.
Shout out to Kirsten Bell too, because she's actually really coming up and she's been that girl. And now that she's getting more PT, I'm loving to see her out there.
And she did a lot for Athletes Unlimited too. And so she's really, she's been doing it. She's been doing it. And shout out to these 2 ladies covering Las Vegas Weekly. Apparently you can't even find these right now. I heard that they're hard to come by. So if you're out there, catch you a Las Vegas Weekly, pick up a few for the ladies.
I'm gonna have to go by somebody's building and see if they're sitting there. There's usually stacks of them.
Yeah, I haven't gone to look yet. I haven't been out the house today. So maybe I'll look tomorrow. And then shout out to our girl Asia, of course. She announced today that she's working with Nike as part of their athlete think tank. So it's a collective of women athletes that holding conversations to help drive change. Of course, it's all Nike sponsored athletes, but all women athletes of holding these conversations. So it's dope to see her putting herself out there and adding more to the conversation too.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Very dope.
We have to highlight this just because you sent it to me. Listen, if buckets don't get a raise, like you said, Rocky is the mascot for the Nuggets. Granted, he does some incredible flips on that trampoline, but this person is making $625,000 a year. He's the highest paid mascot.
Yeah.
He's making more than the starting 5 for the Aces.
Yeah. Rocky ain't got no problems.
Rocky is living life.
Win a championship too. Rocky might get a
right.
raise.
He's going to get a ring for sure. Yeah.
He's definitely going to get a raise.
Oh my gosh. Right. Steph said, dang, listen, girl.
Yeah, Rocky's been the highest paid mascot. His salary just went up. He was at $500,000, I believe, last season or something like that. But now $625 just surpasses pretty much the most of them.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this during our Las Vegas, because we're talking about the A's as well, and Oakland A's that could be moving here. Well, they were playing the Astros. Astros were playing there in Oakland, and the Twitter trolled them so tough and said that the Astros have 10 runs in front of 10 fans.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a cold world out there.
Very cold. But to heat things up, A little Gabe.
Oh my gosh, Gabe, I love you. I was watching the Giants game the other day.
I feel like we haven't had a Gabe moment in a while. So just a shout out to Gabe Kapler. And
Gabe is just doing all kinds of fantastic things out there in the world. Just making the world bright for all of us.
We just gotta do hashtag Gabe. That's our hashtag Gabe break. That's it. It's a Gabe, not a game break, not a game break, but a Gabe break. Because man, listen,
gorgeous Gabe. I'm gonna get a T-shirt with Gabe's picture on it for gorgeous Gabe.
Oh yes. Brianna Stewart returned to Seattle for her opener as a Liberty now and scored 25 points in the team, but did manage to embrace most of her former colleagues and teammates there in Seattle. So that was nice to see. The NBA is getting good. I mean, Indiana Fever finally broke their 20-game losing streak that carried over from last season.
Man,
the Liberty. Yeah, right. About time. You know, shout out to Aaliyah Boston, who's there helping that team move on as well. But also, you know, we've got the Liberty who lost their first game, but have come back and won the last 3. So the Liberty seem to be coming back together. They've got their parts together. They've had more practice time together. So keep an eye on them as well.
Yeah.
And before we go, a little girl power. The World Series for the NCAA women's softball is approaching and it starts tomorrow. So the way that double elimination round works is that you see there on your screen the first 4 teams. You've got Alabama, Tennessee, Stanford, Oklahoma. They play each other. The losers play each other. And for the second elimination, same for the bottom. So the top 4 are sectioned off. The bottom 4, of course, my team, the Huskies, going down on Thursday at 6:30. So I'm gonna have to do a little split screen. Shout out to DirecTV because I'm gonna have to have my Huskies and the NBA game on. So yeah, and that's it. That's all I got.
I love it.
That's all I got.
I've been watching the softball too, and they've been doing their thing. Some of these schools.
Listen, they're getting it in.
Yeah.
I just want to once again, thank you so much to the guests earlier today. If you're just catching the end of this, make sure you hit the replay, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. This will get posted shortly. Gary Charles, founder and CEO of ABIS, Sonny Vaccaro, sports marketing, of course, a legend that we all know, and an ABIS member. Ndidi Massay, CBS Sports VP of Workplace Culture and Diversity Initiatives, as well as she is the 2023 recipient for the Sonny Vaccaro. Yeah, Sonny Vaccaro Award through ABIS. So it's 3 days events that start on Friday. They kick off. There'll be some professional development, like the welcome reception, the white party on Friday. Saturday, some more professional development, as well as the fundraising gala at 7 p.m., both all at Caesars. And then Sunday, the gospel jazz brunch. So check them out on Eventbrite if you want to get there. And that's it for us. That's it for us.
That was an amazing show.
It was
Thank you for all that tuned in. Please share, tell your friends.
Yes. This is like one of the shows where you will always, this is like, you know, we've had a couple of them that we've had that are just like, okay, this was a great show.
The culmination of our show, like definitely having that kind of.
It was dope. That was
dope. Light up.
So that's it, y'all. We love you. We'll see you later. Of course, we'll catch you next Wednesday. And happy. This is the end of May, so we'll see y'all in June.
Yeah, we're going into June. Starting to get hot out there.
All right. All right. See y'all later.
We're out.